would you describe your music?
I suppose a lot of riffage, a lot of guitar solos, a lot of blazing double kick drums. There's speed, there's groove. It's really a combination of all the different influences of all the members of the band. Really, a big mashup.
That was Billy Bates talking about the music of Broken Hill's heavy metal band Firestorm. That was their song Darkness Calls. They have recently returned to Broken Hill after touring Australia and New Zealand with Canadian band Unleash the Archers. I sat down with the four band members to chat about the tour, the history of heavy metal in Broken Hill, and a new upcoming heavy metal music festival which will be held in Silverton in early October.
My name is Billy Bates. I play lead guitar and lead vocals in Firestorm.
I'm Jake Bevan and I am the bassist.
I'm Tomo Jovanovic and I play guitars in Firestorm.
Ash Meadows and I play drums.
Thanks for joining me this afternoon, guys, and tell me about your recent tour with Unleash the Archers. How did that opportunity come about and what was it? And we'll go to you, Ashley. I hear that you were part of the instigator behind this.
I was helping out at Steel Assassins when we went and played there. And I've helped out with Doug Dalton, who's the promoter, a couple of times. We're driving tour buses and stuff for him and got speaking to him at Steel Assassins last year and, built a pretty decent relationship with him and just asked him essentially what it'd take to get the tour, and we've done a bit of conversating back and forth, and he said, well, if you want it, you can have it, but you've got to work for it. So we're not scared of hard work, so we said yes, and that was pretty much it. We had it in the bag, so yeah, that was good.
Where did you go with Unleash the Archers?
We started in Canberra, then finished up in Wellington, so we've done every major city in Australia and Auckland and Wellington in New Zealand as well. So
is that your first major tour?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'd done a couple of 2-dayers or 3-dayers, but that was the first time we actually toured and played, different city every night sort of thing. So, but yeah, no, it was good.
What was it like, back-to-back touring and going from place to place, and the fan response?
Yeah, the fan response was good. Going back-to-back got a bit tiring, but, other bands like Unleash the Archers, they just come off a 30-day tour and then come and done a 9-day tour here, and they went home for 2 weeks and then they've just gone touring Europe again. So it's sort of something you got to do and sort of work your way up and build it up. So we'll get there.
And tell me about Firestorm. How did it start? And go Tom. Thanks.
Look, it was just three friends wanted to play some heavy metal music. We'd been musicians in the past and been in bands together in the past, and so we knew we had that sort of commonality there. And then we followed up with just a bit of fun in the back shed. COVID hit, and it was a good opportunity to, feel a little less anxious about what was going on in the world and a bit more grounded in what we were doing at home. So we sort of formed up and started playing for fun, wrote a few songs and sort of made a bit of a plan to say, okay, well, let's just have some fun and write some music and see where it takes us. And, maybe we'll get to play in a capital city one day. Little did we know.
How would you describe your music?
I suppose a lot of riffage, a lot of guitar solos, a lot of blazing double kick drums. There's speed, there's groove. It's really a combination of all the different influences of all the members of the band. Really, a big mashup. I think also we're very kind of impatient. We get bored quickly as well, so we write music that we want to hear, that interests us, and we're a bit hard on ourselves in terms of how we write that music. So yeah, it's a mix of all things metal and a mix of every member of the band, really.
I noticed a little bit of a difference between kind of your earlier songs like Sands of Time and, say, more your recent music. How was that a conscious change?
I think it's just really just a natural progression, you know. I mean, our next record will probably everything's rooted in the same kind of things, but just different takes on it, I suppose. So I think our next record is going to be interesting to hear what that is. You know, there's going to be traditional influences. You know, Jake's more into a bit more modern music, you know, so he's brought some different vocal influences in. So, yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to see what we produce in the future.
I see, Tom, you're motioning to Ashley there. Do you have any kind of thoughts on how the music has changed from earlier times to now?
I don't know, not particularly, but I mean, if I had to pinpoint it, I'd say when we started, we were proficient at our instruments, but the more things the more times we've played and more practice we've put in, I guess, the more you progress as a musician. So then your music progresses as well. Yeah.
How has the band changed over time? I understand, B, you've kind of stepped into the vocals, which you didn't start out with.
Yeah, so that was a new role for me. I think, you know, even playing guitar was a new thing for me. Like in the past, I've always played drums in bands. You know, Ash and I have been friends for like 20 years. We've never actually had the opportunity to play in a band together because we were playing the same instrument. You know, it was Tomo and Ash who approached me as a bedroom guitarist and kind of said, you know, come and do something new, come and play some guitar. And so I joined the band, and within, I think it was our third gig, we had to find a new singer, and they kind of motioned to me to kind of have a go. I didn't really kind of, I suppose, have any faith in myself as a vocalist, but the rest of the band kind of seen something in me that I didn't see in myself and really pushed me to do that. And I'm really grateful and happy because I'm really enjoying that new role now. So, yeah, so we're all kind of doing things, you know, out here it's quite remote. There's not a lot of people. So we do what we have to do to make it necessary. And I think that can-do attitude's kind of shown in the way that we record. You know, we've had to build studios and learn how to record ourselves and essentially fill the gaps that are here. You know, when you're a musician out in the outback, we've had to be the musician, we've had to be the studio engineer, we've had to be the, you know, like Ashley's the promotions guy. So really look at all those different elements you need to be successful in the music business and really adapt.
Okay, where did you build your studio, just out of interest?
Oh, we've got 3 studios. I've got one in my back room, back shed. Yeah, Ashley's built a giant one in his back shed, which was where we rehearse, and B's got a little mini recording ability at home, and so does Jake. Everyone's got that facility in this day and age. It's not, if you've got a good computer and a bit of hardware, you can do a great deal this day and age, can't you?
Jake, we haven't introduced you yet, but you're new to town and new to Broken Hill. And how did you find this band, and how did you come to meet them?
Yeah, I just came up and was coming up to run a servo. And I seen, some like, there was a heavy metal gig on this weekend. I'm like, I haven't looked at the town yet. I'll go suss them out, see what's going on. Watched them play. It was great with Firestorm in it and a few people that came from out of town. And, it was great. So I was like, I'm not losing out on much coming from Adelaide. So that's cool. And then eventually they played another show after they, just before they went to Wacken, I reckon it was like the battle for the Wacken. And I walked up to Tomo and I was like, yo, like, who plays music here? I want to start something. He's like, he just points at 2 guys and goes, off you go and talk to them. You'll get something. And then 4 days later, walks into work and he's like, we need a bassist. I'm like, all right, bet. And then from that point on, it just happened. It's just like that. It's very funny how this town works.
So how do you go about the creative process as a band?
Usually they'll come in with some riffs and that, and we'll sort of, the way me and Tomo usually do his, he'll come in with some riffs and we'll play around with them, record them, and I'll sort of jig them around on the computer and that sort of stuff to see, you know, what I think fits where. And B's pretty proficient. Because he can play drums, he writes and records all his guitars and lyrics and then programs the drums. So I don't really have to do much. It's all pretty much done for me. I just got to learn what he's written. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't have any sort of credentials writing wise as a drummer. Like, I don't know how to write or read or anything like that music wise. So I just play what I think sounds good. 95% of the time it works out all right.
Yeah, a bit of jamming on the riffs and stuff, and you get a bit of a vibe and a feel. And Ashley's very prolific at writing lyrics. I think he's got probably 20 or 30 or God knows how many songs worth of lyrics in his catalogue, and then he'll come to us and see which one seems to suit or he thinks suits, and we'll just try it out and jam some words in there. We haven't had a lot of time to write with a lot of the playing that we've done recently, and obviously a few of us we're all dads and we've all got kids to look after and various activities that they do, and they take up a lot of time. Obviously they're our first priority, but we try and fit this in where we can and try and create what we can.
What is the future for Firestorm after, I guess, the success of the tour? Like, how do you progress from this point?
Well, I suppose we took a filmmaker with us on the tour. So one of the things that we're going to be working on next is to review that footage and put that into some live clips. We've got to get back to the studio and start writing together and concentrate on this next album as well. Also got to kind of regroup. The fast pace takes its toll on our relationships within the band as well. Because we've been flat out, we've been busy, we've been grinding, it's that same kind of stuff so yeah, a bit of self-care within the band, regrouping. But yeah, we've got I think our next show is coming up is going to be the Metal to the Max, which is something pretty exciting that Ashley's been leading with the support of Tomo and a few others. So that's coming up in a few months. So that's going to be our next live show, which is pretty exciting. So maybe you guys want to have a bit of a yarn about that coming up.
Yeah, so Metal to the Max, me and Tomo have been talking about doing a festival for ages. And then we're like, where can we have it? It needs to be somewhere where it's actually going to draw people in from out of town. Went out, I think B organised for me to go out and do sound at the Mad Max 2 40th anniversary. And I went out there and I looked at the place. They've built a replica compound out there. And I just sort of thought this is where you'd run a 2-day heavy metal festival. So I went from being 1 day with, 10 bands to 2 days with 20 bands to now it's 2 days with 30 bands. So, we're pretty proficient at biting off more than we can chew. So it's going to be a stressful time, but if we can pull it off, it'll be worth it. The Camel Farm's been really good. They're really supportive of it. We've got a couple of sponsors already. Broken Hill Hire donating us a 100 kVA generator and a trailer and everything like that. So, but yeah, always looking for more sponsors. It'd be great if we could get somewhere like Lions Club or something like that. They've got a massive toilet trailer. I'm in the talks with them at the moment of hopefully, because at the end of the day, we're not making anything off of it. We're putting it on for, everyone in Broken Hill and all metalheads and that. So, we've obviously got to pay bills for that and pay bands. So any shortfall comes out of our pockets, and anything that we actually do make out of it goes back into, lead heavy shows and all that sort of stuff, which, we usually do around town for nothing as well. So, anything helps. If anyone out there would like to donate anything, time, money, cheese sticks, anything like that.
The compound, it is on the Camel Farm, isn't it? So is that where the actual event's going to be held?
Yeah, so they've got plenty of camping out there. We've got. She was a bit advantageous about how many people can be there. So she said we can sell up to 1,000 tickets. I don't think we'll probably sell close to 1,000. I think we'll be more than happy with about the 700 people mark. Tickets have been selling really well, and we've sold a couple of tickets in town, but we haven't really advertised it either. So most of the tickets have been from people from majority from Adelaide, Victoria, Melbourne, Sydney, as far away as Newcastle. So everyone sort of wants to come out and camp out in the bush. So it's It's either going to be a recipe for doing it every year or a recipe for never doing it ever again and selling everything and burning my studio down to the ground.
When is it?
So it's on the 5th and 6th of October. So we actually took the date from Shark Festival in Mildura, which actually folded last year. So we sort of thought, well, around this area there's no music festival or there's nothing like, we've got the Monday Bash, which is cool if you're over 65-year-old and own a trailer or a camper van and that, but, there's nothing sort of out this way for like metalheads or, anyone that likes alternative music and that. So, we thought we'd sort of put something on and see how it goes.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds like a labour of love too that you're doing it. Is there any, I just wondered, is there any grant kind of funding available to put these things on?
Sophie Jones from Sound New South Wales has been pretty good. She actually helped us out with a couple of things when we went on tour grant-wise, but they don't actually do grants for festivals or anything like startup festivals or anything like that yet. There probably are grants out there. Heavy metal, heavy metal is kind of like the ugly stepsister of music that no one sort of wants to touch at the prom. So, I mean, for us to get funding, you got to sort of be in the right place at the right time, or you got to get in first and foremost before anyone else gets in. So, I've been looking into all that sort of stuff, but if we've got to self-fund it, we've got to self-fund it. Local support will probably be the best thing that we can hope for, but we'll see how it goes.
And just the history of heavy metal in Broken Hill, where does that come from?
Oh, yeah, this is, all of us can sort of add to this a little, except Jake, he wasn't here. But, back in the day we had a youth services officer called David Lee, and he was hugely supportive in the underground music scene, or the youth music scene in Broken Hill. There was a lot of bands, when I was at school, and I'm now 45, so that was a long time ago, so maybe, 25, 30 years ago. And he would put on these band frenzies, and they'd have all sorts of different bands there, and we cut our teeth, all of us playing at those shows, learnt about music because there wasn't any other support. You had to do it yourself. So he would help with the venue, but he would sort of encourage us all to do the planning, to do the posters, to do the advertising, to do the sound at the shows and stuff. And he would just facilitate and provide assistance with that stuff. And that was where music and heavy metal sort of grew in Broken Hill. I mean, we've had a few exports from Broken Hill. I think Fury was a band that left Broken Hill and played away in Adelaide. A Dungeon was a band that formed in Broken Hill and toured prolifically throughout Australia and overseas, and then changed their name to Lord. So it's been that, I think that's where it all began. Anyone add anything else to that?
Yeah, it's probably a shame that they don't council don't sort of have that sort of facility anymore, because it was a massive. It was a massive thing growing up to actually be able to, you'd go to high school and play music, and you'd play what they wanted you to play, or there was bloody 3 or 4 drummers in the class, and if you were the 4th best one, you wouldn't really get a go, once you go out and do that sort of stuff, and you start doing your own thing with your own band and that sort of stuff, it gives you a massive confidence boost. But not only that, it skills wise, you only learn by doing it. So
I think that really shows. And when we go away to play, we jump in, we help, we'll tech, we'll ask other bands if they need assistance with something. I've seen Tomo and Ash, they both dabble in electronics. I've seen them open up other bands' equipment and solder things together and fix them, and help sound techs and lighting techs, and they're kind of like, well, who are you guys? How do you know all this? And it's kind of like we have no choice. We have to know all this kind of stuff. So it kind of, I think it definitely probably separates us a little bit. Our willingness to kind of get in there, help, but also that kind of knowledge that extends, beyond our instruments to the opposite side of the stage as well.
This person, David Lee, did you say, was he like a council employee?
Yeah, council use. So, Dave Lee and Scott Hammond as well, and Greg Pearce as well, actually. So Scott and Dave were the Broken Hill City Council youth workers. They started off at the YWCA, and when they moved from the YWCA, they actually moved to that place with the eagle painted on it in Crystal Street. And out of that, they used to run YAS, which is like an emergency housing for youth and all that sort of stuff as well. So Greg Pearce used to work with YAS, but he also used to just come and help and do things for absolutely nothing, just for the love of music. His son actually was, his son was very prolific in the band scene then. He was in a couple of bands when I was growing up, just before he moved away to Adelaide. He's in a band called Feed the Fire over there now. They're doing quite well. Me and him were in a band together. So, it was a very good community orientated thing that we had. But yeah, I moved away, I think in about 2009, and only moved back in 2017. And yeah, it was a bit concerning to see that all sort of folded up around the 2012, 2013, and no one. Council, even like to their credit, the high school's still got music teachers and all that sort of stuff, but there's not a lot of stuff outside of school hours that they do. It's great to see that they're doing Pulse here now, last couple of years. But I mean, that's outsiders coming in. There's no insiders in Broken Hill doing stuff on a frequent sort of basis. So that's sort of why I started sort of lead heavy when I come back. So I thought if no one's going to put on shows for original music, like much to all the cover bands' credit and all that sort of stuff, which is good. But very rarely you can walk into a pub and say, "Hey, I write my own songs." And I've got four other bands here that write their own songs. Can we have a gig? Before you sort of had that little bit of a push and a little bit of smarts behind you on how to market it. You sort of would just be like, yeah, nah, sorry. But yeah, we've managed to do that, and we started off at the Southern Cross Hotel, and we'd done 2 gigs there. Then we went to the Palace, then we went to the BHP. Now we're back at the Palace, and I don't think we've had an unsuccessful gig yet. So
it's so great to hear, I guess, that David Lee and the other people you mentioned, years ago, they've kind of invested heavily in the young people, and this is kind of, the fruit of their effort, and to see you guys kind of be musicians yourself, and I just think that's amazing. And from that point of view, I guess, how important is music, do you think, for young people?
Yeah, very important. It's like even for old people, it's important. When the Ash was like posing the idea of the band and the first few shows, and he got me out to come and help mix and assist with the shows, knowing full well his ulterior motive of getting me excited and interested, because you go and watch a show like this, even the show that we played at the Palace last weekend, the young people were like amazed, they were inspired, and that's what you do. You hear these bands and you go, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Maybe I could do something like that, and then they get started playing. And I mean, that's what Dave Lee and those guys facilitated. Maybe I could do that. The kid says, I'll go and try drums or try a guitar or try singing or something like that, and that's how it all begins. So perhaps he did well in handing the torch over to us, little did we know, and now we're starting to do things like that. I mean, it's definitely in my and our interests as supporters of music locally to try and foster these young people, and we're currently discussing how on earth we're going to do that. There is a few local youth bands, so if we can create a show that they basically can own and will support, then perhaps we could grow what used to be as well. So.